Welcome back to Stellaris Overexplained. We left off, I had first contact with my first other empire, and I'm currently still researching. We'll establish communications with them pretty soon. I've claimed a couple of planets, and I am currently working towards capturing at least the Peath system, which I should probably be on track to do, considering, oh, there is a starbase here, and a construction ship, it looks like. Oh no. Okay, so the competition is indeed fierce. I would really like these exotic gases. Fortunately, once I finish this first contact, I'll actually probably get the influence I need to claim the system. As I'm moving further into the series, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit because we're already 5 episodes in and it's only been 16 years. So I really need to make this happen faster if I'm going to get to mid-late game and actually show you the later stuff as well. I actually have an example of, I talked about automatic Pop Resettlement, and we're actually seeing it in action now on New Troy. I have a unemployed worker. They have a 7% chance per month to spontaneously migrate to other colonies, and their most likely destination is my tropical world because I have some free jobs there, and apparently it's pretty stable. So you can see that with the little orange tooltip here. You can get the information on where they're trying to go. Particularly when you don't want them to resettle. I should be done with this industrial district, and hopefully they won't decide to resettle before I'm finished with it. This is another reason I mentioned how I like to not leave 0 pops. I like to actually have a couple jobs on my planet. That way they don't shuffle around. So they do have a starbase here. Where do I think they're most likely to have planets? I would like to scout their territory while, because if they are hostile, they'll likely close their borders to me. I want to do my scouting of what could be their territory now while their borders are open because we don't actually have communications with each other yet. So there's no way they can actually stop me from entering their territory. It's pointless to survey systems that people already have a starbase on, because if you were to go to war and put a claim on their system and take it, you don't actually need to survey it in that case. So actually this was a waste of time to survey this system because they already have a starbase here. So I'm just going to do the explore function just to check out and see what kind of planets they have, where their starbases are while I have the opportunity to do so. Clear signal found. Our sensors have detected a particularly clear repeating signal from the Krakens that seems to offer our linguists excellent material for codifying their language. They are optimistic that we will be able to make some significant progress on the back of this stroke of luck. Oh, and there is not a starbase here, so they cannot be, they're not in this up direction. The Kraken seem eager to establish communications with us, having sent a large audio and visual transmission that appears to offer the key to translating their language. Our experts are confident that we will be able to use this to learn to communicate with them soon. Of course, we will have to trust them that their offered translations are not misleading, and that we will be able to reliably interpret information presented from a surely vastly different experiential context. Their trust is most welcome. So this means that they are also, if I go to policies, first contact protocol, they're also being proactive. So actually that leads me to decide that I don't need to forward scout their territory because they're friendly. There's more competition right now to get the starbase, because when an empire's friendly, I'm not going to want to declare war on them because we're friends. So our borders will be more established. Whereas if they were hostile, that would give me an opportunity to be, I don't care about you, so it's fine if I put a claim on it and get it later through war. But I don't want to go to war if I end up forming a federation with them or something. But that would lock me out of that system basically for the rest of the game. Okay, so it looks like this whole region over here is actually all blocked off. If I can get the Wallamoraha system, then I cut off this whole area. If I get Peath, I cut off this whole area. So, you know, I have a pretty much what I expected to get. It looks like I'm on track to actually get that. Yeah, I've mentioned a lot about thinking ahead, particularly when it comes to upkeeps and surpluses. But another important thing is make sure that you're not over solving a problem. Like if you see a food shortage, like I'm starting to get to the point where my food's a little low, but this planet already has a agriculture district. But sometimes I'll forget that I built something to solve a problem, particularly when it's been, you know, a couple days since I played. So if I were to build like another agriculture district on another planet, then I'd be overcorrecting. Don't overcorrect. One of the things the AI tend to do is that they overcorrect for problems a lot of times. They're like, oh no, I need minerals, and then every planet in the entire empire is going to build minerals, and then after the words They have way too much minerals and now not enough energy. Think ahead, don't overcorrect, but don't undercorrect either. Okay, so here's one thing with automatic surveying. I'm not sure what the math behind automatic surveying is, but why would you go all the way over here? I'm thinking automatic surveying is not the closest system to the science ship, but actually the closest system to your capital. Because this ship is deciding, yeah, this is the efficient system to go to. Not all of these systems around you, but here. I don't care about here yet. I'm not going to survey with this ship because I'm not going to be going in this direction for a while. If I need to, I can turn it back around. I'm just going to explore. I want first contacts, as many as I can get. Knowing what empires are around me will dictate where I need to fortify, so I'm not even going to bother surveying at this point. I've kind of stretched my my influence gains very thin. Sometimes that's the choice to make. Sometimes science ships shouldn't be surveying. Sometimes you just explore and try and find where other empires are. Those drones that I killed from the annoying scientist, my science ship basically researched the debris of the drones, which is kind of done as a temporary special project that you find on the map. And those drones have fusion reactors locked in. So these two techs are now not locked in because of that debris. That's most of the time when you'll get this. So that's pretty nice. I don't really like the mining drone lasers, but having the fusion reactor locked in is quite nice. It's a little bit greedy to push too hard into economy without backing your military. Because if you get caught off guard, you could be devastated. But at the same point, if you stick to developing 100% of your output of resources goes back into getting more output, in the long term, it can mean a lot. But obviously, there are situations in which there's a very hostile empire and you really wish you had built up your military. So I'm being a little greedy going for all economic research and not worrying much about my military. But since now I know that there's this friendly empire over here, I'm feeling safe with this decision. Okay, so I have just met a fallen empire, and fallen empires immediately establish communications. You don't go through the first contact thing since they're like super intelligent. Basically, fallen empires are, I mean, it's in the name. They used to be a galaxy-spanning, really big, giant empire, and they have collapsed, and they're dormant, essentially. Fallen empires are kind of uninvolved in the politics of the galaxy until much later in the game when they have a chance to awaken and decide that it's time for them to return to their former glory. The thing that's interesting about fallen empires is that because they're so uninvolved with the politics of the galaxy, usually they close their borders to just about everyone, depending on their attitude. They're kind of like what I would say a space mountain, if that makes any sense. They're a barrier that just blocks off a big part of the galaxy. And that means that this entire flank, I'm not going to have to worry about any empires that are on this side of them. What you can see here is that this Gaia world has 100% habitability, and it will for every species, which is fantastic. And also, because it's a Gaia world, it has extra resources from job and happiness. These worlds are basically like perfect worlds. However, this holy world modification, this planet is considered sacred by a nearby fallen empire. Colonizing it will anger them greatly. Do not settle Gaia worlds that have the holy world planetary modifier on them. Now send this giant ship down this direction, and we've done it. Our efforts to decipher the signals picked up from the Krakens have paid off, and we finally have made a breakthrough. While our mastery of their language may not be complete, we have managed to successfully open diplomatic channels with the civilization we now know to be the Ukavongo Company. So these are ruthless capitalists, and they are xenophile and fanatic militarist. Greetings, I speak for the Chief Executive Officer, that name, and the wealthy elite of the Ukavongo Company. We are always looking for new trading partners among the many diverse and delightful alien nations we encounter as our ships explore the galaxy. So these three options have some influences on how they think about you. This first option will give you an opinion boost, so if you know you want to be friendly, this is a good option. The middle option will make it harder for them to spy on you. And this last option will make it easier for you to spy on them at the cost of they're going to not like you as much. Obviously, they're xenophile, which gives a opinion boost. and we already are friendly, so I'm definitely wanting to establish this relationship. As fellow star explorers, we salute you. So I'm gonna go ahead and claim the Peace system finally. You can go to the espionage screen and assign a envoy to espionage as a spy network, and over time, as your infiltration level goes up, you'll gain intel on their empire. Another way of getting intel if you want to be friendly is diplomatic pacts, and an embassy is basically just a diplomatic pact that's only for intel gain. It has nothing to do with anything else, so this is pretty much always a good pick, just so that you can get a little bit of intel on each other, and I think you can get a bit of trust from embassies. And basically the way that trust works, the longer that you have a diplomatic agreement with an empire, the higher their opinion gets, up to a cap. So once you can establish some early diplomatic pacts, that's kind of the hardest thing, but once you have like a good trade agreement and whatnot, you can basically establish like a permanent friendship as long as you don't do anything really bad. So trust is very valuable, and the diplomacy tree can make it even more powerful. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign 2 of my envoys to improving relations. I'm going to leave 1 open in case I get a first contact. Improving relations, as long as you have an envoy improving relations, you'll increase their opinion until it reaches a certain cap for how much you can increase just via envoys. But if you were to withdraw your envoys, then that opinion boost will slowly fall, which is fine if you have a bunch of other packs. The thing with other packs is that that'll build trust. So usually envoys are good at the beginning, and then you'll get all of your opinion boosts from trust. Right now, they're willing to form a commercial pact and a research agreement right off the bat, and soon non-aggression and maybe even a defensive pact if I feel I need it. So I'm going to definitely go for this commercial pact because they are a mega corporation. That means I'll get some extra bonuses on my worlds and a bunch of trade value. So I don't know how much it's going to give me because I don't have enough intelligence, but this will also give me all the intel on where all of their systems are, which is very much worth it. So I'm going to send that. And the research agreement. Research agreements are great because any technologies they've researched but I haven't, I'll get a huge speed boost. But the big thing with both of these is really trust and intel. So you can see immediately, I can see their borders. They are pretty weak compared to me because they only have 2 planets compared to my 6. And they do have a ruined science nexus within their territory. So that's an interesting development. They established a branch office. Because they're a mega corporation, they can build things on other people's planets, basically like the storefront for their business. So let's see, I'm guessing they probably put on Earth, and if you want to see where branch offices are, either if you are a mega corporation or you get a branch office from a mega corporation, you can go to your planets and go to holdings. They're currently building, they basically are building stuff on my planet that helps boost my planet and their economy too. So it's a pretty good deal, except for if they are a criminal syndicate. Then this is a very bad thing. But you'll know they're a criminal syndicate because you can't willingly form a commercial pact with a criminal syndicate, whereas you can with a regular mega corporation. Criminal syndicates will, you know, make a ton of crime from their buildings. I have successfully claimed the Peace system. I'm probably willing to cede this territory. I don't see it as worth it to push it further. I have more value going in this direction. So I'm okay if they get this little chunk of territory. So I'm gonna go ahead and claim the Walla Moria system, which will be very valuable.
Evasive maneuvers.
Multiple encounters from this system over here. Let's check it out. So there are some mining drones here. This is similar to what my scientist gave me as a gift. That was definitely the kind of gift I wanted. So mining drones are kind of like the crystals, but you can't make friends. You can make friends with the crystals and the amoebas. I haven't met any amoebas yet. If I see them, I'll point them out. But the mining drones, there's no way that you can become friends with them. So I don't really need to send an envoy to the mining drones, but I have 2 here. But I don't know which one is which. I'd ideally like to research the other thing because there's 2 here. So that essentially means that this science ship, until I clear out this, can't even explore any further on this part of the galaxy. I wouldn't feel comfortable fighting that yet. My ships aren't quite that strong enough for me to feel like I have a good advantage, so I'm not going to fight them. So this Walla Moria is definitely where I want to place a starbase because there's a lot of trade value here, and there's also there's the 2 planets nearby will have a little bit of trade value. I'm already losing out some trade value. So that's valuable for picking up trade value and also defensively. So if you click on the Starbase Outpost, you can click the upgrade button, and for a cost, it will upgrade from being just a little outpost that claims the territory but does nothing else for you to actually giving you some module and building slots that you can use for lots of various purposes, like collecting trade value or defensive measures or building ships. Regular outposts, like I have over these planets, you can have as many as you want as long as you obviously have the influence to build them. But star bases do the upgraded version. Once you actually upgrade them, that contributes to your starbase capacity. And once you go over your starbase capacity, it increases the upkeep of all of your starbases. So if you're only a little over, it's not too bad. But if you go substantially over, it can have a major drain on your economy. So being a little careful about where you place them is important so that you're not wasting a lot of resources. And the naval capacity works exactly the same way. When you go over your naval capacity, your ships cost more to upkeep. Again, going a little over is not a huge deal, but going substantially over can really put a hurt on your alloys and energy. Then here on New Troy, it has auto-designated it as an industrial world. You have 3 categories. You have industrial, forge, and factory. Industrial will make industrial districts work as normal, where they produce 1 artisan and 1 metallurgist. So right now on this planet, I have 2 metallurgists and 2 artisans. If I were to switch it to forge world, nothing happens immediately, but if I let time progress a little bit, you can see all of my artisan jobs switch over to metallurgist jobs. So now I'm getting extra alloys. And then for free, instantly, I can switch back to a factory world. And once it updates, the game's freaking out a little bit. Sometimes you have to click away and then click back for a planet to actually update. So if weird things are happening, just click away and click back, and then usually it'll look fine. So then I have all artisan jobs. It can be interesting to have industrial worlds that, like say in the middle of a war, when you actually really need a bunch of alloys, you switch over to forge worlds, and then you can switch them back for free back into an industrial world and get those jobs. So artisan jobs and metallurgist jobs, when they're produced from industrial districts, can kind of switch over in either direction depending on what you need. However, metallurgists from alloy foundries or civilian industries are locked in place. So even if you switch that designation, these jobs from these buildings would actually be locked in place. But from the districts, they can flip-flop, which is pretty nice if you need to switch your focus. The other thing you can do is in policies, you can go to economic policy, and you start out usually on mixed economy, depending on your ethics, but usually you'll start out on mixed economy. However, you can switch into militarized economy, which will give you more alloys from jobs, but it will reduce how many consumer goods you get from jobs. Or you can switch into civilian economy, which will give you more consumer goods from jobs, but less alloys from jobs. I generally prefer mixed economy, because that way everything's working efficiently. But if you need to, you can swap it over. If you're really struggling with something, you can swap it over. The one reason I might switch over to militarized economy is that later on in the game, if I were to get the trade policy that allows you to get consumer goods from trade value, then I just basically don't even produce consumer goods myself. I get 100% of my consumer goods from trade value. And then if you do that, you basically are just getting a free bonus to alloy production with no deficit to consumer goods, because you're not even producing consumer goods via jobs. You're producing it via trade value. So that's the one reason that I'd really switch that over. I'm not producing enough trade value to make that switch, and you also need, if I go into traditions, if you go here, mercantile tree, adaptive economic policies, I've talked about this quite a bit in some of my other videos. It unlocks the consumer benefits and marketplace of idea trade policies. So you can get consumer goods or unity from trade value, and this is big, particularly once you get a lot of trade value. Because I'm already making 58 trade value, but that can go up quite a bit. And space autonoma, this is what I was talking about, the mining drones. So I did click the wrong one. I didn't really want to research the mining drones right away. But I'm going to switch over one of my envoys that are working with the Vongo company. Udaka Vongo company. I really dislike how challenging this name is to say. I would apologize for pronouncing the name wrong, but considering it's fictional, not like I'm offending anyone. At least I hope not. Oh, anyhow, back to this. I would like to have this planet be industrial for now. Once you have like 2 solid industrial worlds, it's generally better to switch one to forge and one to factory, because this like alloy foundries building, you can upgrade it to make every one of your metallurgist jobs basically produce more alloys. Or civilian industries, you can upgrade it to make all of your artisan jobs produce more consumer goods. So it's generally better to have one is a forge world and one is a factory world, or, you know, the more worlds you can get, the better. So you might even have like 2 forge worlds and a factory world, or whatever you need. But for now, while things are early, I'm just going to leave it as industrial. All right, I'm going to call the episode there. I hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. And if I finish the next episode, you should see it on screen about now. All right, bye.